Here is the rule for transition word commas. Now, on this paper, I have a few examples of transition words such as however, therefore, on the other hand, or for example. Now, for transition words, we use a comma after the transition words and phrases that begin a sentence. Now, I will have a huge list of transition words. I don't think this is all of the transition words that exist, but these are most of them. The purpose of a transition word is to add, compare, prove, to show exception, to show time, to repeat, to emphasize, to show sequence, to give an example, or to summarize or conclude. Transition words are pretty easy to identify, even if I didn't have a list, because they usually provide a natural pause when you're reading the sentence. Now on this paper, all of them are grammatically correct. They have commas after the transition word. I just need to find the transition word and circle it, which is pretty easy. However, I didn't manage to finish the project on time. Well, that's a transition word, begins the sentence, we put a comma in between it. Therefore, we should delay the meeting until next week. There's a comma there, so I'm going to assume this is a transition word, which it is, and then we have a complete sentence after it. In addition, now this has two words, in addition, so this is just a short phrase, a phrase transition phrase, comma there. Meanwhile, I worked on the other tasks. Meanwhile, for example, many students enjoy outdoor activities, for example. Now on this one, I need to find the transition word and then put the comma after it. Technically, I could use the cheat sheet to see if what I think is the transition word is a transition word, but I'm going to read it and see if I naturally pause. Nevertheless, she decided to go ahead with the plan. Well, this is the beginning of the sentence and seems to have a natural pause. Nevertheless, she decided to go ahead with the plan. So comma there, circle that transition word. Furthermore, the team members expressed their support. Transition words happening at the beginning of a sentence or the beginning of an independent clause. The team members expressed their support. Also, technically, if we were to get rid of the transition word, the rest should just be an independent clause. So if I got rid of furthermore and just said, the team members expressed their support, that works. The team members express their support. Team members would be the subject, expressed would be the verb. But the transition word is usually providing more information, so we like the transition word. On the other hand, the situation could improve with time. On the other hand, comma, circle the transition word. Sweet. Now, what I did with these ones is if you did the semicolon lesson already, you know how to use a semicolon. It is very common for people to have an independent clause and then use a semicolon with the transition word to introduce another independent clause. I just need to put a comma after the transition word because that's all I'm doing for this example. The book was interesting. Well, this is the beginning of an independent clause, and the isn't a transition word. So if I'm going to look at the next independent clause, we'll see if similarly is. Similarly, the movie adaptation was captivating. Yeah, that makes sense to put a comma after there. They were running late, semicolon. Therefore, they decided to take a cab. Therefore. You'll notice that especially with semicolons, this transition word is transitioning between this idea to this idea. They were running late. Therefore, because they were running late, they decided to take a cab. It's transitioning from one idea to the next. And lastly, I've already finished my chores, semicolon. Besides, I'm going to relax now. Besides is a transition word. There we go. Let's circle each of those. Whoa, that was a wonderful circle. And there we go. That is the lesson for transition words.